Even as a convict, he was handsome. Hey guys, it's Jojo here. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be listing my 6 favorite Frank Sinatra films. Now, I know that Frank Sinatra is more known for his music, and a lot of people, of course, his music has become American standards and classics, but he was, for those of you guys who don't know or haven't seen any of his films, he was an actor as well, and he's had countless of movies that he's done. He's done dramas, he's done musicals, he's done some comedies, and he definitely has a lot of range, but I'm going to be honing in more on his drama film. So I've listed 6 for you guys. So I'm going to start with number 6. So I chose The Joker is Wild for number 6, directed by Charles Vitter, and it basically depicts the life of Joe E. Lewis, a very famous singer and comedian during the 1920s all the way to the 1950s. He was well known for being mutilated by mafia gang members when he tried to break his contract during the Prohibition era. Now, the movie itself isn't really good. It ran way too long and it became dry after a while. I think that the movie would have been a lot more powerful if it was a lot shorter, but as well as it felt like it was not necessarily cut in terms of dialogue, but it felt like a lot of stuff were cut out. I feel like because especially during the Hays Codes, because of the Hays Codes that were around during the time when this movie was released, which was in 1957, I think that they had to go around the Hays Codes. So you kind of get a feeling for this in terms of the script that there were certain things that they had to muffle down because of the restrictions that they had in terms of what content could be featured in the film. But so I think those are just some of the elements that made the film not that good. But the direction that Sinatra took in terms of his pauses, his bewilderings, even the manipulation sometimes of the camera is kind of a great way to kind of depict what's going through his mind, because the only way that we really know what's going through Joey Lewis's mind in the movie is when he does his comedic acts, which replicate all the problems, all the struggles, the internal struggles he has in terms of dealing with his alcoholism and his wife, and of course dealing with the traumatic experience that happened to him by the gang members and, you know, nearly dying. And so those are all elements that kind of just really weave into the story really well, but I think it just missed the mark in terms of the film as a whole. But great performance by Sinatra, not award-winning as of like for this film in particular, but definitely it really shows how deep Sinatra can get in terms of a complex character in a film. So next film, number 5. The World War II drama written by Fred Zinman, From Here to Eternity, that stars Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, and of course Frank Sinatra. And it tells the life of 3 military men during the summer of 1941 before the attack on Pearl Harbor. So this film, I think, is very iconic, especially in the film industry. It won several Academy Awards, but I know Frank Sinatra definitely won an Academy Award for this film. I think it's his first, I think maybe his only Academy Award that he won. And it's an amazing film. I mean, even better than Pearl Harbor, because I really don't like that movie with Ben Affleck. But I think From Here to Eternity is probably one of the most honest depiction of what was going on during the peacetime on a military base before the frenzy of World War II. Great performance by Frank Sinatra. He plays Montgomery Clift, who's technically the main character, his best friend, and he's very funny and witty. He's always drunk. Of course, it just feels, I think a lot of people probably would agree with me in saying that I think Frank Sinatra really came into his own in this film because he was kind of playing himself in a way. Like it's so well done, and it's such an amazing film, and it is archived, I think, in the Library of Congress as historically significant. So if you guys have not watched this film, of course, also the iconic scene, I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but with I showed at the beginning with Burt Lancaster laying down, I think with Deborah Kerr on top of him. That scene is probably one of the most iconic scenes ever replayed ever. I think one of the staples of the old Hollywood studio era. So anyway, so to move on to film number 4. So I chose Kings Go Forth directed by Delmer Daves, and this movie is set, of course, during World War II, in the French Riviera, where basically two army men played by Tony Curtis and Frank Sinatra fall in love with a woman by the name of Monique Blair, only to find out that she escaped from the United States from discrimination because her father is a black man. So this film, I think, got a lot more out of Frank Sinatra in terms of exploring the dynamic and the psyches of someone who is probably very, very limited based on where they grew up. So basically, Frank Sinatra's character kind of goes through this turmoil when he figures out that, you know, he's in love with a woman that is mixed and she's half black. Of course, during now in our time, that's not really probably viewed as a big deal. Well, viewed in our time as viewed as not a big deal, but at that time, that was kind of calling someone basically like a bastard or mixed or dirty. That was not really something that was a good thing. So Natalie Wood gives an amazing performance of this in the film, to the point where I didn't know who she was when I was watching it, and I actually thought that she was mixed, and I looked it up and I was surprised that she was, you know, she's just a pure white actress, but she hones in on, I think, the dilemma that the character that Monique has in terms of being a half black woman. And that is something that I think is so resonating with me, especially, which is why I included this film in my top favorites, as well as Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis in this film, it's definitely one of his best, I think. It's a very underrated film. I don't think it's a film that is cited all that often, more because of the kind of content that it was and the way that the great cinematography in this film, very great cinematography. But I think that because of how heavy the material was and because it does deal with racism, it's not necessarily popular, but it deals with racism in terms of the white narrative of not knowing. And I think that this film really depicts that so well. So, of course, I named that, number 4, sorry. So moving on to film number 3. So I featured the novel that this movie is based on in a video that I did before, so I'll include that in the link below. But basically, this movie tells the story of a drug addict played by Frank Sinatra who returns to his hometown determined to live a straight life of being a band drummer. But basically, old affiliations make it very, very hard for him to stay straight. And so this film is basically directed by Otto Preminger, and it stars Kim Novak and Eleanor Parker. Now, in this film, Frank Sinatra actually said that he wished he won an Academy Award for this film rather than From Here to Eternity. But this is probably one of his best performances ever, guys. He plays the drug addict so well. He actually was tutored by Montgomery Clift, who was already an Academy Award-winning actor, basically, and he went to I think he went to a hospital where he watched people go, heroin addicts go cold turkey. Now, in the film, the character that he plays is addicted to morphine, not heroin, but it is, basically, it is kind of hinted in the film, but the film itself, it's not necessarily, it's just the way that it plays out, it's very suspenseful. There's elements of film noir in it. Film noir. I'm not gonna be American and say it the wrong way. But it's such a great film. Kim Novak plays I think she was a really great element to it because she's very seductive and her gorgeous accent, and it's basically, she adds a very kind of this sensual intensity in it, who she basically plays a hostess of a strip club, I think, right? Of a strip club or a bar, I'm sorry. And I think it's a strip club. And then, of course, Eleanor Parker, who plays his erratic wife. Guys, the performances in this film is amazing. I highly suggest that you guys watch this film. If you guys don't watch any of the films I have mentioned, please watch this one because this one is so good. It is actually on YouTube, okay? Like, hint at that. I'm hopefully they don't put it down because of copyright. I really hope not. But it is on YouTube. It is such an amazing film. It's great. I honestly think that Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in The Basketball Diaries was influenced by the cold turkey scene in this clip. If just let me know in the comments below, guys. Watch the scene when you watch this film. watch the scene when he goes cold turkey and then compare it to the cold turkey scene in Basketball Diaries, and let me know in the comments below if you guys kind of agree with me, because I see the parallels, and I'm not saying that because Leonardo DiCaprio was a great actor, I'm not saying that he's not, but I do definitely think that he was probably influenced. He's probably seen this film, and this film probably influenced his performance. But anyway, moving on to film number 2. So Vincent Minnelli's Some Came Running, made in 1958, is based off of James Jones' novel of the same name, the same guy who wrote From Here to Eternity. And basically, Frank Sinatra plays a veteran who comes home after 16 years in Midwestern America, and basically in anger of his brother who has kind of cast him off. And he tries to make a life with himself with people that you might not necessarily expect. So Shirley MacLaine and Dean Martin play in this film as well, and basically Frank Sinatra plays a very interesting character in this movie. I don't remember the name of the character because it's been so long since I've seen this film, but he is one of my favorite characters. So he's basically a writer. He's a character who basically, after writing a short story, and he's kind of out of it, and I think the wars kind of made him cynical, and he doesn't really want to write. And of course, he becomes friends with people in the town that's like they praise, like, you know, one of his best friends is, of course, played by Dean Martin, and he is a professional gambler. And then, of course, Shirley MacLaine, who's kind of a hatchet girl who just bounces and with very loose morals, and she's poorly educated. And but the thing is that those are, with characters that seem so flawed, they are probably one of the brightest characters in the film. And all the other people in the film that seem to be taking the moral high ground or kind of going the right way of life seem pretty bland and almost played the villains in a way in this movie, because they kind of tear down the characters that, even though they are flawed in terms of the things, maybe they're not doing what was socially acceptable, or they're not, or because they lack in a certain education or social status, they're still very vibrant and very alive characters, and we fall in love with them in this film. I actually have, in a haul that I did a few months ago, I actually bought the copy of the novel, so I can't wait to read the novel and then rewatch the movie again. But Shirley MacLaine won an Academy Award for this film. And also in this film, it's the first time Frank Sinatra worked with Dean Martin, and they've done many years after this film was made, they worked on more films together. So, of course, that's my second film. So on to number 1. My first favorite is the Ocean's 11. It stars Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, Peter Lawford, Angie Dickinson, and basically the entire Rat Pack. And it is so funny, it's so good, and it basically tells the story of veterans from the same unit that plan and execute a heist of 5 famous Las Vegas casinos. And this is actually the movie that the remake of Brad Pitt, starring Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and all those, I forgot the other celebrities that were featured in the remake, is actually based off of. So I love this film, not necessarily because of any artistic vision or anything like that, but I really love the chemistry between the actors. Of course, we all know that they were all best friends. And fun fact, in the 1960, Frank Sinatra, doing PR with all the Rat Pack in Las Vegas when he was doing live shows to promote the film, he was also helping John F. Kennedy campaign for his presidential campaign as well. So I'll leave the links in the description below of all the live shows that I can find on YouTube, so you guys can go ahead and watch them, because they do have the old black and white recordings of their shows. So it's really, really cool, as well as everybody kind of acted like themselves really in this film, I think. And it was just very suave and cool, and it kind of just depicts what the cool guy was in the 1960s. So anyway, yes, that's my last film. I thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have already seen the films, tell me what your favorite is down below, or your favorite Sinatra film that I have not mentioned. I would love to know, so let me know in the comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for the views and the great comments on Instagram and on Snapchat. I love you all, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Hey, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold,